You guys, and welcome to another mobility strength class where we're going to focus on hip abduction today. So those are the tissues and muscles on the side hip and your ability for your thigh bone to kind of go out and away from the midline. All you'll need is 2 yoga blocks for class today. If you don't have blocks, you can grab anything that could resemble or replace a yoga block. But we're going to get started. First thing we're going to start off with is a growing stretch. So we're going to be in a kickstand position. Your right leg is going to come out to the side like so. Now, if you have your yoga blocks, they're pretty much just used to better support any base positions. You can put your hands over the blocks like this, especially if you have any wrist issues. It can take off pinching in the front of the wrist. But we are going to pretty much bank some time here in this stretch, and then I will layer in some cues. But most importantly, you need to feel stretch on this side of the joint, inner thigh growing stuff. Adding on an extra layer to that is how we can position our pelvis on our thigh bone to create a better stretch or like a stronger stretch sensation. So ideally, when we're trying to put the inside of this onto stretch, we have to rotate our pelvis towards the ground. So I'm pretty much rotating this big hip bone, thinking right hip bone pulling towards the ground, and typically that'll give you some extra feels there. You can also shift your hips backwards. You can shift your hips forwards. You can change the angle of the leg. I always say don't get so hyper fixated on what you think the stretch should look like when we're stretching, but focus more on where you feel things and making sure it's felt in the right places, and can we get the best stretch in the position that you're in. There's always little micro changes that we can do to get a stronger stretch sensation. So that's why I always encourage people to scan, move their pelvis, move their leg, or whatever we're stretching to get your best stretch. So we've probably been here for about 60 seconds. So we're going to go into our isometrics. This will be explanation time. So we are going to press our right leg into the floor. I'm pretty much just mashing my leg into the floor to generate some tension in my stretch tissue, which is my inner thigh and growing muscles. I'm using the floor to generate tension. As time goes by, my inner thigh growing muscles start to feel a little fatigued, and I would say we're at about 30 and 50% effort here. We're going to hang in there for 10 more seconds. If I came and lifted your leg off the ground, I shouldn't be able to because your efforts are going down into the floor. We're here for 5. We're going to lift off in 4, 3, 2, and 1. You're going to relax your hip and then try to get a little bit of a lift. My foot is about 1 millimeter off the floor. And now I'm focused on squeezing this outer hip stuff. I'm really pushing my hands into the block so that I don't do this big dramatic shift over there, or so that I don't open my pelvis to cheat hip abduction. So we're trying to get now this stuff squeezing and being felt. Take a second to find that. Now hold it for 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, relax, 1. Whoa, what just happened there? So we did our pale contraction, which was we pressed our leg into the floor. That contracted the inside of the leg. We followed that with a real contraction where we tried to lift or hover the leg, which contracted the outside of the leg. We're going to repeat that process one more time. First thing you need to do is find your stretch on this side. You'll take a breath in. Exhale, pack the air down. And start to press your leg into the floor. start to generate some inner thigh growing tension. Imagine if I came to lift that right foot off of the ground, you were fighting me to not let me lift that leg off the ground. Can you turn your effort up a bit? This is our second set, so we're going to make it a little bit more higher efforts. Try to make your way up to maybe 60%. We're here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and then relax. We're going to reverse, switch gears. Try to lift that foot a millimeter. I don't need a big lift. Ooh, I almost caught a cramp. Try to make your foot super, super light off the ground. Remember, the goal is not to get it high off the ground. It's to squeeze and contract the outer hip. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, whoo, relax. 1. We're only going to do 2 sets of those. We're now going to do some in-range strength training. Lift off with a knee hinge. So the sequence goes: lift, bend your knee, keep fighting to keep that thigh bone up. Don't let it start to float down to the floor. Extend, lower down. We have 6 reps of those. We'll bring this leg in, finish it with a tabletop hip car, and then repeat everything on the other side. Here we go. 6 reps. Number 1, make sure your pelvis is closed. Headlights, bony hip bones facing the ground. The whole 6 reps. That is your goal. Here we go. Take a breath. Lift the leg. Bend. Straighten. Lower down. That's 1. Lift. Squeezing that outer hip. Lower down. That's 2. Lift. Don't let the thigh stop working. It's constantly trying to keep its height after you lift it. This is 4. Do your best to keep your hips square-ish. We have 2 more. Press down into those blocks. Use your core. Last 1. Whew. Lower down. We have our hip car. Let's actually do hip car kind of bias to this position we have been training. So this is explanation rep. Make sure your shoulders don't look like this, but they're pressing into the floor. Squeeze your abs. Start that lift off. We're going to keep that leg straight. Rotate it behind us. Let it cross just a little bit. And then bring it back to where it came from. Yeah? We'll be here for about 30 seconds. I'm going to change my view. Very, very important cue here, you guys, in regarding cheating hip stuff with your spine, especially this car variation. When you lift, when this leg is rotating into the back space, be very careful that this doesn't start to happen. If you look at my low spine, it's completely done a back bend. And we are not training back bends right now. We are training our ability to move our leg independently of our pelvis and our spine. So I want very minimal movement in that lumbar pelvis area. So that's this stuff. That's your goal. Here we go. Let's get in a few rounds of these. Lift. I'm also really using my blocks to generate some tension and control in my hips. I'm really pushing down into my blocks. So yes, this is kind of a more hip focused exercise, but also my shoulders are working as well. Let's get in one more rep. And then you'll bring that leg in. Oh my God. Okay. So we did one full side. We're going to do the other side. Yeah. So here we go. You have your blocks. You'll find your stretch. Left leg is going to be out. I'm going to show just a different perspective just in case that, I don't know, helps you see something that you didn't realize as far as position goes. So if your pelvis likes to kind of hang out here, just see if you can drop that open leg side down on the hip in order to get your best stretch in the inner thigh. Remember how we talked about scanning to find your tightest lines of tension? It'll move when you move. So along the line somewhere in your exploration, you'll come across a line of tissue that's like, oh, like, yeah, ouch, that's really tight. Stay there. Train the tightest lines of tissue. Doesn't really benefit you if you go to an area that doesn't give you the strongest feeling, because that strong stretch is something that needs to be trained and worked on. So try to find your best stretch. And we're going to hang out here for probably another 30 seconds. If this stretch is pretty uncomfortable for you, you need to focus on regulating your nervous system, relaxing yourself. Focus on longer exhales, breathing. If your nervous system doesn't feel safe when you're doing things, it's just kind of like fighting yourself, trying to get better. So apply your breath work to your passive stretches here. Take one more breath cycle in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let's go into our first pill set. You'll take a breath in. Exhale, pack that air down. Start to press that left leg into the ground, like you're trying to mash the bottom of your foot or maybe the inside of your heel bone, big toe, into the ground. You should feel like all this is doing some hard work, right? We're between 30 and 50% of effort here. But you do need to make the efforts to contract that tissue. Keep pressing. Continuous tension here for 10. We're going to reverse in 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax inner thigh. Now squeeze outer thigh. Notice I'm not trying to make this a big leg height thing. I am brushing the floor barely, but I feel all this stuff squeezing like I'm going to get a hip cramp, like probably. So chase that hip cramp is what I'm saying. We're here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Use the blocks. 5, 4, 3, 2. Relax. Whew. We have one more set. So just one little note for the rail, that's when you're trying to lift the leg. Notice my leg isn't lifting at all. It's still touching the ground actually, and it gives me a little bit of buffer so that I can really feel the most out of this regressive tissue without immediately cramping. So it's like a happy medium. Some people just need to fully lift the leg to feel anything at all. So if that is the case for you, go for it, but don't make it like no one's leg should be this high off of the ground. Just squeeze their regressive tissue, okay? We have one more set. Breath in. Exhale. Start to press that open leg down into the floor. Goal is to contract the stretched stuff. That's your inner thigh. That's your growing muscles. This is our money set. This is our max effort set. This is get somewhere between 50 and 100 sets. So work hard. Keep pressing down. We're here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Reverse rails. Make that foot as light as you can off the ground. Remember, I don't care if it lifts. I care that you squeeze that side butt. Keep your pelvis anchored to the floor as best as you can. We're here for 5, 4, 3, 2. Woo. Lord Jesus, 1. Okay, so those were our 2 Pails rail sets. Getting into in-range strength work, you have that lift with a knee hinge, bend, lower down. Let's get a few rounds in. Here we go. Don't neglect your shoulder muscles. I don't want anyone like this over there, wherever you're at doing this workout. Push, lift, bend, core, pelvis, square. Just get a few rounds in. Don't worry about how many reps you do. We're not here to just check off the to-do list. We're here to train the hips. Try not to rush your working reps. Try to clean up each rep. Maybe drop the left pelvis down a little bit more for your next one. 10 seconds. It's like you're chasing a side booty cramp. Good. Last one. Relax. We have a hip car. About 30, 40 seconds, something like that. Okay, here we go. We just want to get a few good reps. Lift. Rotate. I'm shaking. Cross. Lift. Squeeze your butt and your hamstring. Do not do that. Take the leg out. So hard. Whoops. Trying to get as much isolation in the hip capsule as much as we can. Woo. Let's go for 2 more reps. Keep it tight. Last one. Ooh. Wowzers. All right, class. That was a booty burner. Hopefully you're feeling fatigued on the outside of your hips. If you're not, you probably weren't working hard enough. That's the end of our hip session today. As I always say at the end of class, feel free to repeat this class again, especially if you're wanting more of a longer training session. Highly encourage it. I'll see you guys next time.